Well, let me give you the breakdown on this fine automobile here today. So this is a 2010 F350 with the 6.4. It's unrelated to being a diesel, but basically what I got on this thing, I was driving it around, screwing around last night. I get an intermittent service brake system warning light. I'm gonna patch that video in so you can see. It's like this thing's been a pain in my butt for a couple days. It's sort of like the light comes on, the light goes off. Basically what I did in my troubleshooting, I'm following all data, service info, but I've eliminated the brake fluid level positions sensor by jumping these two terminals with a jumper wire. Those are the correct terminals, so I'm not blowing them out. Basically, that makes this switch read permanently closed, and that switch is just down here, plugged into the side of the reservoir, right about where my hand is. So initially, you know, I thought maybe failing switch, I got it jumped. It seemed to be better, but I did last night get that message to pop back on. So right now, you can see it's actually off, and everything seems fine, and that's kind of the problem. It's so intermittent. So let me run you over the other side. That wiring basically goes from the master cylinder through the firewall and into this smart junction box, which is, I don't know, I'd have called it a BCM, like a body control module. It's the TPMS receiver and everything. So this is the smart junction box, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to continue retrieve codes, and I'll show you. I'm getting this intermittent c1125. Right now it's okay. So that's the code I get. I also get a random brake light switch code, but this is the source right here. I've noticed every time this code sets, the c1125, it sets whatever the brake switch code is. I don't even remember what it is. Matter of fact, I can probably find it here. It's probably in the ABS now. I'll unselect that one. I don't, you know, sometimes what Ford doesn't make sense to me, but basically, for some reason, when it sets the brake fluid level, it sets a brake light switch. But the brake light switch has been consistent. I haven't seen any issues. So right here, a c1446, that's like an erroneous code. We're not real worried about that. So that 1125 brake fluid level is my main problem. So here's what I'm doing to diagnose it. So I'm gonna go into the data list here, and I'm gonna select just the two things that I really want to look at. That I like less on the screen. Less is better. Just these two, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on these. So you're looking at brake fluid level normal. Right now, yes, and then I'd hit the wrong bump and it would say unplugged. So like, to give you an example, if that brake fluid level switch was not jumpered, it would read unplugged. You know, now this is for the Mac MOT10 or whatever the scan tool's name is. I kind of forget. So like, watch, I'm just gonna unjump this center one. Now I just heard a chime inside. Yeah, I'll probably have to shut the door if I really want this to show up, but that red brake light comes on, like as if you left the parking brake on. And I'll also get, I got too many doors open here, but as soon as I were to shut that door, you get service brake system message, logically, because the thing's disconnected. So that'd be probably my first line of diagnosis there, is just, you know, go ahead and you could jumper that switch or that brake level sensor. It's 3 wires. It's, you know, that's why I call it a sensor more so than a switch. I kind of think of a switch as a 2-wire. So I'm gonna re-jumper that. Now, if your sensor is still good, you should just be able to, you know, keep it connected. Which, you know, I could, but I'm gonna leave it jumpered here. So, you know, to give you some perspective on which two I'm jumping, I'll yank this tape off here. I just had hooked it up so I could do a road test on it. So it is these two. With that connector and that type of orientation, those are the two terminals you need to jump. Now, because I know that my problem is elsewhere, I'm gonna actually just yank this off of here. Take care of that later. And I'm gonna take my connector. It's hard to see, you know, like pretty tall, super duper duty type of truck. So I'm just gonna reconnect this because I've already done my troubleshooting. But if you connect that and you get the code and you get the warning light and then you disconnect it and jumper it, it goes away, that switch is your problem. And I'd imagine that's a fairly common failure. I'm not entirely sure if you can replace the switch or you need the master cylinder, but it's down in there. So now that that's reconnected, check this out. Red brake light's gone, no apparent issues. I was feeling pretty good, but I'm telling you, I drive this truck and once every hour or so, sometimes more, I'll get this, I'll get that message back, I'll get a code set. So I'm struggling with it. Check this out, it says normal. Now, it goes to this smart junction box, so watch what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna start wiggling a couple little things where I think that connector is kind of starting to fail. Okay. You know, so I know that that harness comes through to this smart junction box. I believe this is the one I moved earlier. And they got it to give me some hard time. So boom, right there, you heard the chime. I'm showing unplugged. And I've gotten my message back. So I'm gonna pause and track down really what the issue is, but it's definitely a connection issue. I'm gonna suspect probably, you know, right at the connector itself, not really suspecting the smart junction box. So I just want to pause real quick. I got it live right now, and so I'm gonna track it down and then I'll check back. All right, so to know what wires to check for sure, it's, you know, I'm even in the shop, I'm at the home garage here. You know, I'm following all data, and basically our test would be to measure from that connector of the smart junction box out to the master cylinder connector and similar. But because I pretty much already know that I'm dealing with these two wires that go to the smart junction box, I'm looking at I'm gonna go mainly by wire colors, gray and violet here. So gray and violet, and a yellow and gray, and it's on a connector with that many terminals too wide. So I did find that, and I did some quick tests, and I also noticed it may be really tough to get on camera, but this is a main connector here. This is the small connector. So to give you a perspective, that's a small latch style connector. I didn't realize this had an aftermarket alarms, you know, or, you know, anti-security type of something installed. And I noticed, if you look really carefully, those two wires I just pulled off to the side. Okay, violet and gray, and yellow and violet, or yellow and gray. Let me recheck that. Gray and violet, and I think it's yellow and violet. It might be yellow and gray. It's hard to see. Yeah, yellow and gray and violet. So I noticed there's a couple spots where these have been like poked, like they've been tested. So maybe somebody before me was trying to test them or whatever, but kind of what I did, I actually just disconnected the connector and I reseated it, and I've got these kind of pulled off to the side, so I haven't been able to get it to act up right now. So I've either got a pin tension issue or you know, there's a couple bare spots on these wires, so I'm going to touch them up with a liquid electrical tape. But these are the two problem child wires. So I would probe the connector and measure resistance from this terminal of the gray and purple all the way out to the master cylinder, end to end, and I would measure yellow and gray terminal here all the way out to the master cylinder, end to end, and find the open on which of the two wires it is. But right now I know that I don't have an open. I'm good right now. Exactly what's changed, I'm going to say it's probably pin tension, so that's why I'm doing a little wiggle with this connector. But as you can see, I've got nothing but normal. And so I'm gonna unfortunately have to go out and road test this again and see if it will be consistent. I may even have the customer drive it for a week and give me some feedback just based on me doing a disconnect or reconnect and touching up some of the bare spots on those wires from whatever hack did the aftermarket radio or anti-theft or whatever is in here. And so I may even advise him to take that system out because he bought the truck from auction. He doesn't know anything about it, so I don't like the aftermarket add-on stuff. So that's kind of the long walkthrough of an intermittent thing. Sounds easy, but when it doesn't act up all the time, it's hard to figure out. So there you go.